Hello, I'm WoodenToby. We have several new models to discuss today. Obviously the highly requested Scottish twins Donald and Douglas, and also a couple new pieces of rolling stock, the Spiteful Brake Van and an LNER van. I'm sure you've noticed I built one engine in black and the other in blue, and I'm anticipating some of you may be curious why. So hang tight, and I'll cover that and much more in this video. Without further ado, let's take a look at the twins. In terms of building techniques, Donald and Douglas are probably my most complex models to date. For whatever reason, the proportions of Donald and Douglas's basis, the closely related Caledonian Railway 812 and 652 classes, are a challenge to translate into LEGO, and I experimented with several design variables, such as how far to raise the boiler above the running board, how long to make the cab, and whether to include a running board on the tender. I'm happy with the decisions I made, and I think they achieved the look I was going for. One defining characteristic of Donald and Douglas's appearance is the smokebox rim around the edge of their faces. To replicate that feature on my LEGO model, I knew I'd need a boiler with a slightly larger diameter than those I used for Thomas, Edward, and James. The cheese slope boiler does the trick, and with some clever engineering, I was able to connect the slopes in all four directions around the boiler, even on the underside. Based on some tests I ran, I spaced the driving wheels about as far apart as possible to still run comfortably on LEGO's curved track and switches. Although the even spacing of the wheels isn't completely accurate, much like my model of Duck, I felt it gave the overall model the best look. Keeping in mind the location of the wheels also affects how I build the side rods and the body above the running board. The wheel setup also works well for circuit cubes motorization, with the battery box stored in the tender. The tender is considerably more complex than those of my previous engines. I gave it its own running board, which is a first for my LEGO models, but accurate to Donald and Douglas's basis, their Railway Series appearances, and even their TV series models. I'm happy with the level of detail I managed to include, such as the sloped tops of the tender walls and the rounded edges on the back side. Addressing the topic of the colors I chose, obviously in the Railway Series books, Donald and Douglas arrive on Sodor painted black, then are repainted blue shortly thereafter. I knew I needed to build at least one engine in blue, as I've been designing my models especially after the later Railway Series books. When I decided to design the Spiteful Brake Van, who appeared in a story where Donald and Douglas are still painted black, I figured a second model in that color could go along with the brake van and offer some variety instead of having two identical models. That doesn't necessarily rule out building a second twin in either color in the future, but it's what I've chosen for now. To offer flexibility on which twin is which color, I can swap out parts on the black model's tender, giving it Donald's number 9, Douglas's number 10, or the BR Cycling Lion logo, which both twins carried when they first arrived on Sodor. Similarly, the blue model can carry either twin's number and nameplates. And on that note, let's move on to the Spiteful Brake Van. I developed the Spiteful Brake Van's design from my previous BR 20-ton brake van. In the process, I learned that the Spiteful Brake Van is based on an LNER Toad B brake van, which was later modified into the Toad D design with extended ends that British Railways copied for this design, which was a bit of a full circle moment. Aside from changing the colors and size, the main build feature different from my previous brake van is the shape of the ducats. I gave the van a standard gray face, like my other trucks, the TV show, and the wooden railway toy. And finally, we can move on to my goods van. I designed my van after the LNER's 12-ton vans. The build is pretty straightforward. The chassis came from my brake vans with brake levers from my trucks. I built the 4 walls with the studs facing out, allowing me to achieve some texture and to use an even number of studs on the end so I could center the top vent. I can attach a face from one of my trucks to the van if desired. I did find an old 6 studs wide digital design of a goods van from 2020, and I think the side-by-side view shows just how much I've progressed as a Lego builder since then. Given the selection of new models introduced today, I think it's fitting to recreate a little scene from the story Brake Van. Enjoy! "He's cross," sniggered the spiteful brake van. "We'll try to make him crosser still." "Hold back," whispered the van to the trucks. "Hold back," giggled the trucks to each other. James did his best, but he was exhausted when they reached Edward's station. Luckily, Douglas was there. "Help me up the hill, please," panted James. "These trucks are playing tricks." "We'll show them," said Douglas grimly. Slowly but surely, the snorting engines forced the unwilling trucks up the hill. But James was losing steam. "I can't do it! I can't do it!" he panted. "Lay it to me!" shouted Douglas. "Oh," groaned the van. "I wish I'd never thought of this." It was squeezed between Douglas and the trucks. The guard was anxious. "Go steady," he yelled to Douglas. "The van's braking." It was too late. Thanks for watching. I believe this is my longest mock showcase video so far, but we had lots to talk about. As usual, you can find instructions for my new models on Rebrickable. See you next time!